Yeah, we haven't talked much about the tree, and what's interesting about this to me is, like the figures, it's rooted in one place. And you have a sense of something that's there. It's been there for a long time, like a tree. It's grown out of the ground, but there you also have that dynamism. There is a kind of sweeping movement, almost serpentine, which may be a little bit of an echo of the serpent under the tree in the garden in the Genesis story. But what interests me also is trees. Usually we think of them as branching out and extending out into the air and grasping at the sky. This tree, though, ends up circling back. It's like, and again, like the Ouroboros, the snake devouring its own tail. And how do you relate that to the stories of these figures, and how do the figures in this image of the tree relate to each other?
Well, it's funny, they related it to me. I didn't relate it to them. As a matter of fact, the treeness comes out of many years. I never thought I was making a tree, and when I put the title on, it was definitely an association of a tree, but I wasn't thinking of a tree. I was thinking of shape-shifting more, and these forms dancing and so forth. But when it became a tree, in the sense of symbol, it's, as you say, it has the earth roots. It's a column root. And when it came up to its diadem, the head, these are like inverted roots, but they're ellipses, which also relate to sort of cosmic aspects, in the universe, and circulation aspects, and hoops, and apertures. And so energy forces, which, being a sculptor and a painter, is that with sculpture it's usually problematic with the bridge again between the earth and the sky. Usually, it's this phallic thrust going up and so forth. I'm very interested in feminine and masculine energies and fusing them together. As you can see, most of my work sort of balances that or fuses and so forth. So you have this power thrust, and then you have these feminine energies, circulations coming back in. But then you have the apertures where you can see through the sky. So there are ways of being free to go up, but also it contains itself back into its containment. We talk about solitude again. We talk about serenity in a sense. We're not losing the power. It's coming back in a different way, symbolically. The tree dances, and the figures are in stasis. The tree has, suggestive elements in it. And the other thing is, the way I work is that this was all built from the inside out. And it's microcrystalline wax now to be eventually bronze. But every touch, to me, brings sort of an organic feeling to it that also is part of the transmission I'm interested in. Transmission being, once again, energy forces and not losing the human touch. And also I'm carrying on a continuance with a tradition, but at the same time dealing with it in a more inventive, different way. And so I feel the language has a lot of polyphonic levels to it in the sense of visual language. It's not just, cut out shape. It really has a life force like a tree. And the beauty of nature is that, that growth aspect from tree to leaf is so natural. To make something that feels natural in the growth aspect, but also has the power and maybe hopefully the mystery and has the elements that I was just talking about. It excites me. That's why I'm doing it. And so it's funny, I'm really kind of a receptive artist. I do a lot of work, and I've been around a while, so I've been through many phases. And it's taken me a while to really discover the most potent aspects of what I do, to take them and to allow them to go further, in a sense. But I am the receiver. I'm receptive to these energy forces. And when I receive this, then I have to have my wits and awareness to really orchestrate and to go forward. So in a sense, it's a marriage. It's not like it's outside me, it's all within me. But it's a certain aspect of surrender that, we're trained the other way to be, power. You have to be able to be acutely sensitive to when to really kind of push and pull. But it's the beauty of seeing those discoveries happen that I orchestrate in a different direction. It becomes what it is. If that makes any sense. Since I convoluted a little bit, but.
Well, I'd like to pick up on one. You mentioned that in your work you like to combine or draw out both masculine and feminine principles. And these figures are all male, but actually when I first saw them, along with the image of the Arrow Men and from Blackout Speaks, another resonance that they had for me was actually with a very famous statue of a woman, and that's actually up in Nova Scotia, the statue of Evangeline. She's the heroine of the Longfellow poem about, it's like an epic poem about the woman in the Acadian, the French Catholic community that was banished by the British in the mid-18th century. And if you look at this statue, which locally is quite famous, if you look at it on one side, she's a young woman and very beautiful, and that's to depict the side of her before the exile. And then if you walk around to the other side of the statue and look at her, you see her as an old woman and worn and weary from her travels in the banishment. And that idea of the one woman, but with the two sides, and you cannot help but think of that if you've seen it when you look at these images, because you can stand on either side of any of them and see something quite different from what you see on the other side. So you have two different.
Yeah, the other thing is that some other people have seen these as androgynous. They have seen female feelings and aspects in it. It's interesting. People have different interpretations, but you're right. I feel that they have both, in a sense, but they're not one or the other, but they are. In other words, they're kind of mysterious. They really kind of hold. If you come in with a certain attitude and someone else comes in with another attitude, that's what they're going to see almost, in the sense of woman or man. And I think that this is more. Do you think this is more feminine in a sense because of the shapes and the feelings or whatever? To me, it's really always that play. Within us, within our maleness, we have feminine energies, and we often deny that. But those sensitive, nurturing energies are very vital, and I think, at least in my understanding of artists and art, is that comes really to the surface as one of the most creative, generating aspects of us. And I know it's been denied since, because of social, political, and striving on the outside power structure of society and so forth. But essentially, in our intimacy as human beings, we grow more into the nature of what we are when those capacities, both those capacities, are in harmony. And hopefully, that's what I seek out in this work too, a little bit.